In Xamarian Forms, the button responds to finger taps, but you can make all of the objects that derive from view, including label and box view and frame, also accept finger taps. And we're going to demonstrate that with a short little game program that uses it. But first, after we get it created, I'm going to show you how to do it in C#. We're going to do the game in XAML, but you need to know how to also do it in C# if something comes up. So how you would do it in C# you would create your object. And then there's something called a tap gesture recognizer collection. So you would create a new tap gesture and you would give it an event. And you would assign the tapped event a method to use. So which we're going to add that in a second. And then you would the box view, the gesture, you would add this tap gesture to it. And those methods are just like any other method, event method. With the object and event R's. And then you just have your code here. Let's see. No errors. So this is how you would do it. I'm going to go ahead and delete this out because we're doing ours in XAML. I just wanted to show you how to do it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up the XAML page. And we can open this up to show this, but right now it's going to be blank, and so I'm going to close it so we can just use the extra long screen. So we've got our XAML page up, and let's go ahead and add some padding to the content page. And I'm going to make it content specific for the iOS. Type arguments, thickness, just for we'll have a little bit better margin. And then we'll close that off. And this is going to be a little bit more typing than we're used to doing, but we're doing a lot more. So now let's go down to the stack layout. I'm going to go ahead and delete this label. And we're going to start off with the box view. And its name's going to be box view 0 with vertical options of fill and expand. And then we're going to add the box view, gesture recognizers, and we're going to say the tap gesture recognizer tap equals on box view, which we've already got it started, but there's nothing in there. We close that off. Then we add another box view, which we can just copy and paste. And give this box view 1. Then in the middle, we're going to have a button for a start button. Button. And we're going to call it start game button. Text equals begin. Font equals large. I guess we'll go ahead and make a new line. Horizontal options is center. And the clicked event is on start game click. On start game button clicked. And then we can close that off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add the method void on start game just so we'll have it done. We're not adding the code yet though. I just wanted the event in there. So then we've got box 1, box 2. We need 2 more boxes. We need box 0 and 1. So now we need a box 2 and a 3. So box 2 and box 3. Now then, I think that's all we need for this one. Now we need to add our code in the C# part, and this is a little bit more work than we're used to doing. Hopefully it won't be too much, and you're going to get the project when I get done. So first off, let's create us some variables. A constant of sequence time equals 750, and then we're going to have a flash duration, and I'm going to give it a protected type. And then we're going to have some luminosity on and a luminosity off event constant. So let's go ahead and add those in, because that's going to be how bright the box sheet is. LUMINOSITY equals looks like I got a typo I need to fix. That way they'll be spelled the same. Then we're going to create an array of box views to hold these 4 box views, and that will be easier for us to deal with. And we're going to create an array of colors, and that's going to fill our colors up. We're going to add the 4 colors. It's going to be color red, color blue, color yellow, and color green. Okay. Then we're going to have a list to hold our sequences in. It's a list of integers, and it's going to be the numbers. And then we want a sequence index. We're not going to initialize it. And then we're going to have a boolean for awaiting taps and game ending. And then we're going to have a random, because we're going to always pick a random number. Of course, it's not going to be too random with just 4, but anyway, we can. So we've created our random, except we need a semicolon there. Now let's start. We don't need this anymore. We've already gone through that. But we do need to fill up our box views array. Equals new. And then we're going to move like box view 0 through 3 in here. One, 2. Alrighty. What's next? Then we have not, let's go ahead and add a method to initialize colors. And we're going to, first thing we do in the initializer, we're going to call that. Alrighty. Okay, on the initialize the colors, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run through our box views and set the color and the luminosity. So we've already got the method started. So we'll say for int index equals 0, y index less than 4, and then we're going to increment index. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, and since this is just one line, you do not have to have these curly brackets, but I just think it has less problems if it's defined what's in there. So we'll say box views dot index dot color equals colors. Index, and then we're going to say width, luminosity, and we're going to say whether it's on or off. Off luminosity. And whenever we've said that's what it's, so it'll be 0, 4 is off. And then when it gets turned on, it will be on luminosity of 0.75. Now then, what we want to work on is the on start gained clicked button. So let's move this up. And I'm going to change it to protected. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the game ended is equal false. and then we're going to make that start game button not visible. So we'll say start game button is visible equals false. And then we're going to initialize the box view colors again. That's sort of redundant, but that's okay. Because we only do it once when we start up, and then when they click the button, it does it again. And every time they restart the game, it will initialize. So we're going to clear our sequences so that's empty. And then we're going to start sequence. We're going to do something called start sequence that we have not created yet. But we're fixing to right now. So let's go ahead and add in this method called start. Okay. And when we start a sequence of numbers, we're going to say sequence, add button, or excuse me, random. This is where we're using the random. Next, and 4. I mean, they can only have 4, not including 4. And then we'll say sequence index equals 0. And then we're going to start a timer, okay? We've done a few timers in previous lessons from milliseconds and sequence time. And it's going to execute on timer tick, which we have not written yet, but we're fixing to. Timer tick. So next thing we need to do is to write, it starts it, and then it starts this timer, and at every tick it is going to do this method. So let's go ahead and do that one. Let's save. It's a Boolean on timer tick. Looks like I spelled it wrong here. Now it'll be okay. Now then, if the game is ended, we just want to return false, and we don't want to do anything else. I know a lot of teachers will say, well, you're not supposed to do things like this, but you know, you can just have a program full of if-elses. So there's nothing wrong if in the beginning return it if it doesn't do what you're supposed to do. So, and right now we've got this error because it says it does not return all paths, but we're fixing to get another path there. So then if it's not ended and we keep going, we're going to have a flash box view, which let's go ahead and start that so we don't have that error. We're going to call this protected virtual void, and we'll have more lessons and go over more about that later, okay? And we're going to send it an index. And right now this is going to be empty, but we will fill it up when we're done with our on timer tick. That gets that message out. So we're going to say flash box view, and it's going to say sequence index. That's what we're going to pass it. And then when we're done, we're going to increment the sequence index with just the ++ sign. And then we're the awaiting taps, that's a Boolean, and we're going to decide if the sequence is equal the sequence count. So we'll say awaiting taps. That's a Boolean that we set up at the top. Equals this sequence. And it's going to be the yes or no value. If sequence taps is equal to the sequence count, is going to be true, otherwise it'll be false, but it's going to decide in this sentence right here. And then we're going to return the opposite of awaiting taps. And that's going to get that error message out at the bottom. Not. Okay. So we're getting closer. Now then, we have to decide what we're going to put in our flash box view. So we're going to set the box view color. So we'll say box view, that index color equals colors index, and we're going to have the width luminosity, and we're going to assign it on luminosity, so it's going to be a little brighter. Okay, and then we're going to start the timer, and this one's going to have instead of a separate method, it's going to have a lambda expression in here, which we've already gone over those. So we'll say device start timer time span from milliseconds, and it's going to be flash duration. And then there'll be a comma under here. And then this is going to be a lambda. Okay, let me make sure I'm getting this right. Okay. We're going to have a little error right now because it wants us to return a value. But we'll get it all in here. And you guys get the code. I've already told you that. So first, if game ended, just like at the top, we're going to return false. Otherwise, we'll say box views index dot color equals colors with the luminosity, and it's going to be off. Then we're going to return false when we're done. Okay, so no errors there. That looks good. Now the next one we're going to work on is this on box view tapped. I'm going to change this to protected instead of private. And we're going to put in our tap code, and we're almost done. So if game ended, we're just going to return. And then if it's not awaiting taps, then we're going to return, and we're going to end the game first. So if not, and that would happen if people did too much clicking. We're going to end game. And we've not written in game yet, but we will here in a second. Okay, so this is our longest method. I'm going to go ahead and start the end game just to get the error out. And we're going to do that protected again. There we go. So yes, this is almost done now. So we've decided we're going to keep going because the game is not ended and we are actually awaiting taps. So box view, tap, box view equals sender, and we're going to cast it as a box view. And then we'll say we're going to get the index equals array. And this is going to give us the index of the box, so we'll know we have the right one. Box views, taps, box view. Now then, if the index is not equal to sequence index, then we're going to end the game and return. Okay? I know this is a lot of code, but the main thing we were working on is the tap gestures. So, you know, this is good to have this code, but this is not real essential to this lesson. Then we're going to end the game and return. That would happen if, you know, there was too much clicking. Okay. Then when we're done, we've decided if we're going to keep going or not, and we're still keeping going. And we're going to flash the box view of the index. Then we're going to increment the sequence index. You guys will probably even do all kinds of code like this, even in business software and engineering software. That's what I write every day, and I have to do all kinds of stuff like this. So this will definitely be helpful, just to, you know, sequencing and things in arrays and finding indexes of things. So we're going to decide if we're awaiting taps again with another question. So this awaiting taps is yes if the sequence index is less with sequence count. Otherwise, it's no. And then we're almost done with this method. If not awaiting taps, then we're going to start the sequence. Okay. Now then, let's see. I think we're almost done. We just have to put in the end game method. So we'll say game ended equals true. And then we're going to gray out, disable all of the box views. So for we're just going to go through a for loop and do that. And you don't have to do the curly brackets, but I like to do them. I think it's easier if you decide later on to add more code. You don't have to go in and add them later. The color equals color gray. And then we're going to change the start button text to try again with a question mark. And we're going to make it visible. Okay, so let's build this. And no errors. We got output. It's still building. Oh, all started. As soon as it gets done, this is not a real long program. Okay, so let's pick our device. I've been using iPhone 8, so we'll just keep using that. Let it start up. And we should have a screen with the 4 boxes, and in the middle it'll say start game, and then we'll start and we'll see how it flashes. And after this class, before we move on, I'm going to give a short little test, and then we'll start another section. Let's see. It's taking a while. Let's see if it's waiting on the Mac for anything. Why don't I'm going to hold this. Okay, good. It's coming up now, it looks like. Maybe I just got impatient. No errors. That's good. Coming up. Okay, so we're going to say begin. And then, so it red, so we're going to click red. Uh-oh. Anyway, let me see what's going on here. I'm going to put this on hold, and then I'll tell you what I've done, okay? I probably have a typo. Okay, I'm back. I think I found what the problem is. I missed the line. Over here on the on timer tick, we've got a flashbox view. We've got a sequence index. I have an awaiting taps. Well, I missed a line. Sorry about that. So sequence equals awaiting taps. And this is a question. Awaiting taps. If awaiting taps is true, then it's going to be 0. Otherwise, it's sequence index. Okay. So let's run it again after we build it. We did not increment the sequence index. Let's run it. Okay, we're going to be in. It did yellow. Then it did a yellow and a red. Now it did a yellow, red, and a yellow. Okay, yellow, red, blue. And see, I missed that. So now it says, do you want to start the game again? Yes. Yellow, yellow and blue. Yellow, blue. So basically, it's just going to keep going until I miss. Like right now, we'll say green. Alrighty. So I'm going to do a small test, and then we're going to move on to a new section. So I'll see you then.